Hello and welcome to the Artful Dreamer Studio. My name is Carrie, and this week we have a bit of a special painting. We are continuing our spring series and we are going to paint a flower. My mother-in-law actually commissioned this painting from me. It was her birthday a few months ago, and she said the only thing that she wanted for her birthday was for me to paint a painting for her. I thought it was so sweet. And I know that she absolutely loves flowers. She is always tending her garden back in Rhode Island. And anytime she comes to visit here, she plants something. She's a total green thumb. I am not, so I really appreciate it. Last spring, we had some beautiful dahlias, and I took a ton of reference photos. And I decided to choose this reference photo for her painting. Really enjoyed painting it for her, so come along with me as I demo it for you. Let's paint. We start by wetting the entire sheet. This paper is not super thirsty, but we want to make sure that we get enough water and cover everywhere. Then we don't have any pooling. And then I just start by dropping in some of the green that I can see, some of the yellowy green that I can see. And then dropping in a little bit of that beautiful red that I see for the background, along with the base for our leaves, which is green. I really wanted to start painting the background, but in order to do that, I wanted to make sure that I outlined the younger flowers first. So I'm using a mixture of the Crimson Lake and the Cobalt Blue just to get this really nice cool red to put down. You'll notice that I'm jumping around from the leaves to the flower petals. There's no rhyme or reason. I just paint what I want when I want sometimes. And sometimes the repetition of painting the petals can get to be a bit much, so I just move somewhere else to give myself something different to do. For the stems, I'm just taking a pretty light mixture of the deep sap and overlaying a little bit of the Crimson Lake on it. It gives these kind of reddish brown stem appearance. It's really quite lovely. So you'll notice that I have just a simple sheet of paper covering the flower that I've already worked on, just to make sure I don't smudge it. It's one of the other reasons I wear my smudge guard. I do tend to put my hand on my sheet a lot, and I don't want any oils from my hand transferring to my paper, and I actually don't want to smudge anything either. When working on the background, I just go section by section and start painting around the small flower buds and some of the leaves. I do go section by section to make sure that I'm getting really kind of nice smooth application, and then I am putting the color of greens where I want them to go. Excuse the obnoxious view of my magnifier. I was actually using it to make sure that I was getting around the flowers really well, but I can see how it's quite obnoxious in the shot. You'll notice that we cut away a good portion of the background. And not that I didn't want to show you guys, it's just that this was a very long painting and it was painted over days. So that we had to make some sacrifices to make sure that we could show the process and not bore you to death, I guess. One of my favorite things about the background is all of the texture that was created. The pigments in the paint started to settle and granulate on the page, and it really helped kind of get that feel of something a little more rustic outdoor while allowing the flowers to still be really beautiful and smooth. I really did enjoy painting that background. So what you'll see me doing is working on one of the more mature flowers, but just the side view. I did end up changing the composition a little from my reference. I wanted to show these particular dahlias in different stages of maturity, and I think I got just about everything I wanted in this one painting by just moving around the composition of my reference photos just a little bit. It's very, very, very helpful to study your photos and then try to recreate it in a way that looks really good to you, so that it highlights and showcases what you enjoy about a particular reference. So we start to get into painting one of the main flowers, and I went ahead and put our shadows down first. They were going to be the cooler sections of those outer petals, where you would catch the most shadow, the middle section, and kind of just the top of the flowers were really getting light, and those little bits of shadow that were cast by the other petals were really quite lovely to paint. I used the wet and wet technique for those where I had to make sure that there were no harsh lines and the paint laid down pretty smooth, and then where it didn't, I just dropped a really pale, very diluted cobalt blue with just a little bit of the crimson lake in it. The middle sections of these mature flowers were really just me painting shapes, the dark shapes that I could see in the middle, because it was obviously, like most flowers in the very center, it can be pretty difficult to get exact detail. So I just focused on shapes and value, making sure that the darkest values that show up in the flower are in that middle section where they would be based on our reference. So just like with the other parts of the painting, I do jump around quite a bit, painting the petals that I'm interested in painting at any given time. This really keeps something that could be, if you allow it, quite a tedious job from being quite that tedious, because you just go where your mind takes you. You paint the petals that you want. I followed the reference, but it wasn't exact. I kind of had a little bit of fun just making sure that I left the color pretty soft, because overall these were white dahlias with little hints of this really beautiful cool red, and I wanted to make sure that we could keep them white by softening the reds and making sure that I was very, very detailed around where the reds went. But I didn't focus on making it look exactly like my reference. It's kind of my spin on what it looked like to me. So what you'll notice about this flower is that the shadows and the petals are different from the first flower. These are going to be far more cooler, and I used more of the blue than I did of the Crimson Lake in creating the shadows for this. But what I also noticed is that the petals themselves do come out a bit lighter than the petals on the first flower. So I just switched it up a little bit, made sure that I was at least getting my values correct as far as how deep the shadows were, because this flower obviously got more light than the one below it. There were some places that I was a lot more faithful to the reference. I did want to show some of the imperfections in the petals. I really like looking at them in nature. So I did want to make sure I could capture them in this likeness, and I think I was able to do that here with a few of these petals. Some of them were curled in and hadn't fully come out, and others just had little bits of rips and tears in them, and I think it gives it a really a little bit more of a realistic look when you do add some of the imperfections that you see in nature, because of course nature does have the most beautiful imperfections. As I finish up this flower, I know that I'm going to go back and just find a few of the spots that I can to tighten up and maybe do a little bit of adding and subtracting here and there. But overall, I do like how these flowers came out. All that's left to do is to sign it, and that will be a wrap. So as you can tell, this was a bit of a longer painting. It took about 10 hours of work, and we were able to condense it down for you because I'm sure you didn't want to see me do all that. But I really enjoyed painting it. I really hope that you guys loved the outcome. I know my mother-in-law did, and it made me so happy to present it to her when she came to visit. As always, if you enjoy this content, please like, subscribe, and share with anybody that you think would love to join our little community. I will see you all next week. Goodbye.